This is the Tuesday, September 13th meeting of the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners. My name is Deb Shore, serving as chair this year. To my left is our vice chair, Krista Yoakum, Rick Vest, and the other side, fellow commissioners Roma Amundsen and Sean Flowerday. If you'd please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mr. Clerk, if you'd begin the agenda, please.
A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available for electronic viewing from the county clerk's staff. Printing options are available upon request. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item number 1 is minutes. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on September 6, 2022.
Move approval.
Second.
All right. Motion and second to approve the minutes. Call the roll, please.
Best,
Yes.
Amundsen,
Yes.
Yoakum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next is number 2, claims. Approval of all the claims processed through September 13th, 2022. This needs to be amended to include payroll ending on September 7th, 2022.
Move approval of the claims, including the payroll disbursements through September 9th.
Second.
All right. Call the roll, please.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundsen,
Yes.
Yoakum,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next is number 3, consent items. These are routine business items that are expected to be adopted without dissent. Any individual item may be removed for special discussion and consideration by a commissioner or by any member of the public without prior notice, unless there is an exception. These items will be approved as one with a single vote of the Board of Commissioners. These items are approval of amendments to the following county contracts. C-20-550 with super steam for carpet and upholstery cleaning. D-21-672 with Encompass for sit and stand workstations and accessories. C-21-673 with Office Interior and Design Inc. for sit to stand workstations. C-20-695 with Jones Automotive for supply and installation of emergency equipment for city and county law enforcement vehicles. C-18-356 with Allegiant Creighton Clinic for employee medical exams. The amendment extends the contract from July 3rd, 2022 through July 2nd, 2023. The cost of the county is not to exceed $20,000. C-17-934 with Midwest Office Automation for cost per copy services. Amendments to the following county contracts for annual repair service for construction and purpose-built equipment. This includes C-18-510 with Acker Diesel Repair, LLC. C-18-511 with Brown's Heavy Equipment, Inc. C-18-495 with Hamilton Equipment Company. C-18-582 with Murphy Tractor and Equipment Company, Inc. C-18-536 with NMC, Inc. C-18-537 with RDO Truck Center. C-18-512 with Rose Equipment, Inc. C-18-496 with Titan Machinery, Inc. C-18-497 with Truck Center Companies, Lincoln. C-18-498 with Vermeer High Plains. Third amendment to C-5-309, establishing the Keno Human Service Prevention Fund. This third amendment provides for utilizing $100,000 from the Keno Prevention Public Endowment Fund to establish a temporary facility equipped to operate a civil protective custody unit. Right-of-way contracts with the following: Jason R. Eisenman, North 27th Street and Rock Creek Road, in an amount of $343. Oak Creek Cemetery Association, Northwest 27th Street and West Mill Road, in an amount of $10. Ronald and Lucille Henricks, North 84th Street and West Bluff Road, in an amount of $1,819. Grant contracts with the following: Cedars Youth Services, Inc. for the Reporting Center program in the amount of $6,552. The Hub Central Access Point for Young Adults for the Back on Track program in the amount of $12,871. Verticlaw Education Solutions Team for the Best Alternative School program in the amount of $15,000. Grant contract with Omni Inventive Care for the Truancy Diversion and Parent Management Training program in the amount of $10,000. Grant contract with Hope Spoke for the outpatient program in the amount of $60,000. Grant contract with Voices of Hope for the Coordinated Response to Reducing Domestic Violence program funded by the Violence Against Women Act in the amount of $36,755. Grant contract with the Board of Regents of the University of Nebraska on behalf of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln's Law Psychology Program for data analysis of juvenile justice and JBC-funded programs in the amount of $60,000. Amounts for following grant contract C-21-484 with Boys and Girls Clubs of Lincoln, Lancaster County for the Keystone Leadership Program funded by the Juvenile Justice Prevention Funds. C-22-476 with the Board of Regents of the University of Nebraska on behalf of the University of Nebraska Lincoln for the evaluation of the Project Restore program. C-21-663 with Donald P. Ballou, Ph.D. for the Crisis Response Program. C-21-584 with the Girl Scouts Spirit of Nebraska for the Juvenile Justice Outreach Program. C-22-81 with Rabble Mill for the All Access Pass Program. Receive and place on file the following reports: Records and Information Management, and the County Clerk's Office.
Move approval of the consent items.
Second. Motion is second to approve those many consent items. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Call the roll.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next are public hearings. 4A is vacation of the 50-foot right-of-way of North Street adjacent to Lot 1 Agnew First Edition, extended north of the north right-of-way of North Street, Raymond, Lancaster County.
Right, we will open the public hearing for the vacation of the 50-foot right-of-way, North Street, Agnew.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. John Berry, Lancaster County Engineering. Let's see if our comes up. This is a petition street that was brought forward to us. It's North Street, Village of Agnew. It was originally platted in 1889. The street is only 50 foot wide by approximately 40 feet long. It's a very narrow little area. On the west side is Northwest, not 70th Street, which is a dead-end street. It ends at the creek, Wagon Tongue Creek there. On the north is the creek. On the south and on the east side are lots, Lot 1 and 2 of Agnew First Edition. As you go further to the east is Union Pacific Railroad property, and then Highway 79 property. It's shown red here. Here's some pictures of the area. The street is currently just a grass area. I believe it's being maintained by the people to the south. That for sure, I'm not for sure on that. On the west side is a small ditch area, and on the east side is some trees and brush. Based on the idea that Department of Roads has controlled access in this area and the railroad tracks, a road continuing to the east is probably never going to happen. It's just not to get all that permission. So at this time, Lancaster County Engineering is going to recommend approval of this vacation.
Who brought this issue to your attention?
The property owner to the south, Miss Laverne Peaks.
Any questions for Mr. Berry? None, thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to provide testimony regarding this road vacation?
Deb, I do want to let the board know the clerk's office has received 2 emails on this subject in support from Emmanuel Bartek and opposition from Todd Jansa.
One in support and one in opposition.
Correct.
And they will be made part of the record. Right, thank you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony we're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. My name is Karen Breitenberg. I'm a land surveyor. I was hired to do the subdivision, and I received the letter that you guys got from Mr. Jones's attorney last night when I got home, so I hadn't had time to prepare till now. The reason we need the road vacated is so Mrs. Peaks has the ability to put in a new septic system. When her property was originally, she took some land from Mr. Jansa through a adverse possession thing, because when the land was built, the properties in 1930, the houses were put there. There was a drainage creek behind it. Now there is not enough land to put a new septic on. She has maintained the road to the north because it's been considered part of her property. The creek is just on the north side of the north part of the road. When it was asked to be vacated in 2010, this subdivision had not been done. Since the subdivision was done, the county requested a drainage easement. I don't know how this thing works. I don't usually go.
Gonna lay it on there.
Just set it on there, it'll pop up.
Oh, it's upside down.
It takes a minute.
It takes-
So the orange part is the drainage easement that was requested by the county because the creek does run through there. The red part here, that's the road that they're requesting to be vacated. This is,
And is her house on lot 1 then?
her house is on lot 1. I had This is the floodplain map. So this area, this blue area, is where the drainage easement is. This part is like what they consider a 500-year floodplain. The drainage easement does begin pretty much in the middle of the right-of-way of North Street. And with a drainage easement, there cannot be development in there to impede the flow of water. There is a natural drainage easement on this side. So to extend the road into his property would take some work, and I don't know how they would do it without impeding the flow of water. And since this is this is Mrs. Peak's property. This line right here is where her current property line is. This is the part they're asking to have vacated. As you can see, there is no room to put a new septic system on it. So without the septic system, I don't know what she will do, and I can't see her. So
Can you give us directions for this photograph, just so I,
this is north, the top is north.
okay.
This is Mr. Jance's property, this is the railroad, this is the road, this property. So this is only half the road. The road technically goes up to here, the 50-foot, but if it was, this is when you passed it the first time. This part is owned by Mr. States. This part is all in the floodplain, so he can't do much with it.
And
This is the creek.
and the part to the back of her house that adjoins the railroad, it's owned by who?
This is owned by Mr. Jansa.
And where is that his house to the south then?
No, this is a different house. This property
okay.
is not involved.
Okay.
This is the drainage way.
Okay.
This line used to go here. As you can see, her buildings were previously on his property. They were built in the 30s. And so she did take him to court for adverse possession to maintain the rights to her buildings.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We might need that map again.
Oh, I made copies for all of you. I didn't know how to get them.
Yes.
Wonderful.
yeah, Wonderful. Is there anyone else wishing to provide testimony on this item?
Morning.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Nate Hartman, Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department. Our department's saddled with, as you're aware, of evaluating permit applications as they come in for proposed on-site wastewater systems. Our department is recommending that the vacation take place. vote for approval to vacate the property, as it may present the only viable option at this point for Mrs. Peaks.
Okay.
Thank you.
And this is a new septic system replacing an existing one that's aged out.
It's fixing the one that's currently in place.
Roma?
Does this include new laterals and everything like this, or what?
I don't have a permit application in front of me to tell you exactly what's being proposed, but it's altering the existing system to bring it to current standards. I won't leave
What
it
are
out.
the current standards?
Yeah, functioning septic tank, functioning laterals that are not surfacing, and the proper length of laterals based on the percolation rates, and the, to meet the demand of the wastewater flows coming from Mrs. Peak's property.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you, Nate. Right. Anyone else wishing to provide testimony on this item?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Good morning. My name is Ann Post. I'm an attorney with Rumboldt Ludke Law Firm. I'm here today on behalf of Jansa Rentals, LLC, in opposition to this petition to vacate right away. Now, what's before you today is actually the culmination of at least 10 years of property line disputes between these two property owners. The home and the facilities for this property were built with reckless disregard of the property lines. What that's resulted in is over 10 years of legal proceedings and lawsuits for my client, Jansa Rentals, who owns the adjacent property. The first legal proceeding was when he was in front of this board in 2010 on the original petition to vacate. At that time, it was considered, again, it was the recommendation of the county engineer that it be vacated for the reasons stated today, that it's not, that this road isn't, the north-south road isn't going to connect across the creek. We're not going to connect across the railroad lines. So really, the purpose that it serves is for access for my client's property at this point. At that time, despite those recommendations, because Mr. Jansa came in front of the board to request that it remain open because he needed to maintain access for the use of his property, the board denied that request. So that was the first legal proceeding. There was several attorney letters and 2 lawsuits filed, as was mentioned, one for adverse possession, which was actually settled as just over a year ago in August of 2021. I and my law firm were not involved with that. Mr. Jansa handled that himself by granting Ms. Peaks a right of first refusal, so giving her the property in dispute in exchange for a right of first refusal, where he gets the right to, whenever she decides to put it up for sale, to purchase the entire property. So that was, like I said, that was resolved just a little over a year ago. And with this, with legal proceedings hopefully resolved, with my client thought that they were resolved, he was finally ready to move forward with development of this property and looking at what needed to be done to put a culvert in, to work with the county engineer's office, definitely, to start to make use of that right of way when it came to his attention that it had actually already been vacated. And so that's why we're here today to ask that the process was brought back. We're here today to ask that it not be vacated, and also to offer that despite over 10 years of disputes, and despite this house being built with reckless disregard for property lines, it's still not the intent to have Ms. Peaks need to move out of her home. So conversations have not been had about working with Mr. Jansa to find another location that doesn't get rid of his access to his property, to remove that access for a septic system. We're willing to have those conversations if there truly is no other option for a septic system for this house. So let me use a few maps to show why this is so important for this property. Oh, thank you. Someone's on top of that. So let's see, this map is going to illustrate it best. This is a very peculiar piece of property. It's very hard to develop. As you can see, this outlines better exactly what we're talking about. It's about 100 feet wide and 1,300 feet deep. Access and making any kind of productive use of that property is going to be difficult in the best of times. So Mr. Jansa has begun developing on the south side. This is the property that he also owns, purchased from Union Pacific Railroad. As you can see, on this side of the road, there were existing buildings, and he was limited by the layout that was already there. What you can see is that while he is able to make some productive use of it, this is a really inefficient layout for a piece of property. It's 100 feet wide, and you have over 20 feet of that allocated to an access road that's going to go down the length of it. What the intent was, now that we
Do you mind just backing up?
Oh, yes.
Those two existing buildings that were on the property, what are they used for?
These are, these are the south side. This property isn't at issue.
Right,
This is to demonstrate a layout.
okay.
So these are, they're leased to commercial businesses. I think we have someone who fixes up and sells old cars. There's a towing company that's based out of there. It
So
is
light
industrially sold.
light
and
industrial, okay.
uses.
So on the 1,300-foot length of this property, these would,
1,300 I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
well, these are towards, if I'm keeping my directions straight, which is always interesting, these are towards the south end of the
Right.
1,300 feet.
So,
They're actually below, yeah.
right.
They're across the road.
So first, all my maps have north towards the top because that's how my mind works.
Okay,
so.
okay. So
But-
they're towards the highway. Well, no, they're by the railroad tracks, right?
Right. Railroad tracks are here.
Right.
So this property is not the one at issue.
Right.
Oh,
This is on the
Okay.
south side of the
Side.
street.
Okay.
This
Gotcha.
is to demonstrate how you lay it out, how you try and make a productive use of a
Long strip.
100-foot wide piece of
Okay.
property. So the property at issue actually is this one in red. You can
Right.
see
We've
this
got
is
that.
one we were just looking at.
Thank you.
And so to make productive use of this property, options, what we'd like to do first is to be able to use the entire frontage for a use here. So that, and when I say entire frontage is 100 feet, so it's still not very wide.
Yeah.
And then for this long strip to be able to take access through the disputed area and bring it down this way. Sorry, my artistic skills are a little lacking, but hopefully that demonstrates it.
So you're just, the development plans are just for the one building and then bring access clear down the strip?
Well, we would have two options.
Okay.
And that would be for one building and then access. Clear down because that's the only way we're gonna be able to do it, because this is such a long strip. So this actually is the former George Street, which was vacated previously. So we would, have loved to have this access here, but the county vacated that.
And the road doesn't connect north of there, right? The road basically terminates.
Correct. If we look, here is another map. We have, yes, so there's the creek that runs through
Got it.
here.
Okay,
You can see
yeah,
that
yeah,
here.
yeah. Thank you.
So
No,
this
that was
doesn't
helpful.
connect. The railroad tracks are here, so
Yep.
this won't connect. And there's really, there is no other point to get access to this property. to
You
allow
can't,
development.
and that isn't a full road to the south that would cut your two properties in half, right?
This is a road.
Yeah.
So you could have access there,
We have access here.
but you want two accesses.
The point is that with this 100-foot wide, 1,300 feet deep parcel, that if we are going to develop this for commercial use, that if we only have this access, first, we have this area. So that's gonna limit our ability to have an access road on this street, because we did grant that right of first refusal to Ms. Peaks. So an access road would have to come along this side. It would also take up 20 feet of that 100-foot right-of-way. And so that makes it very hard to lay out any commercial uses. So the options would, and also because this is industrial, any vehicles that are usually associated, for example, we've got towing on the other side, it's gonna be hugely beneficial that it either, if we have let me back up to say, as I'm talking about development plans, as we talked about, this property has been in legal disputes for 10 to 20 years. We haven't worked with a civil engineer yet to do a design layout. So what I'm laying out are conceptual. There are two options. that would either be to fully take advantage of this frontage, make best value of at least that, and then have to do a much more inefficient layout on this side, probably with commercial here and a road here. Or even to be able to allow, if we need to allow larger vehicles, to have the 2 access points, so they're not trying to turn around something with a truck trailer
Yeah.
on 100 feet of property. And so that's why, even though that this road is not going to connect to the north, it's not going to connect across railroad right away, it still makes a very big difference to this property owner to be able to maintain those 2 points of access. So that is where it was actually starting to move forward with the process of looking at what pricing out a culvert, looking what that would cost, when this came to his attention in about July of this year. And so there was current plans for development, but a lot of that's going to depend on the decision of this board, how this can move forward. So that's why we're here today, asking you not to vacate, to deny this motion to vacate, to continue to allow access on this north side. And I say that also with the commitment that we are willing to have conversations with Ms. Peaks about location of her septic system. You know, it is not the intent to be a bad neighbor. It is not the intent to make it so that she can't replace her septic system. Even though it was originally built in county right-of-way, it was built not on her property, but we're still willing to be a good neighbor and work with her, but we need to have those conversations. To this point, no conversations have been had, even though we did replat and reconfigure the property lines less than a year ago. So with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions that you have.
I appreciate the willingness to have that discussion, because that's clearly a need by the homeowner here, and that's not an illegitimate piece of addition or upgrade to our home. So that's important here.
And thank you, and that's one thing why we bring up the right of first refusal, to demonstrate that even after 10 years of disputes, we're able to settle it in a way that got Ms. Peaks what she needed to continue to live in the property, also allowed for the future development of this person's, the Jansa property. And so to demonstrate that willingness and that we want to continue to do that.
Roma?
Yeah, what would be some possible, it says here that does not desire that is willing to work with her to find a solution. What would be some possible solutions? I understand that you have to have the conversations yet.
Right.
But I think that that's really critical that we understand what those conversations may entail.
Well, so first I will say I am not an engineer, or I don't lay out septic systems, so I'm going to have to, I'll give you my thoughts, but those are conversations that we'd want to involve a professional
Yeah,
in.
you'd have to.
So I would say first is the idea that Jansa Rentals owns all of this property. So if there is a need to maybe use some property here, you know, maybe in this location that's right next to her house. I'm sorry I don't have a more zoomed in map there, but that's a conversation that could be had. You know, at this point I'm envisioning that looks like a easement, and that goes along with that right of first refusal. Well, to piggyback off that right of first refusal, that easement is something that makes a lot of sense. That would allow laterals in this property in a place that isn't going to block an access road to maintain access. But part of that is also going to have to be talking to an engineer about the topography and what can be laid out. There are usually options. There's lots of different ways that you can lay out a property. But at this point, those conversations haven't been had, because the first that we learned of this was after it had already been vacated, and Mr. Jansa and I had to contact the county to bring the process back and make sure that we got the chance to put this information in front of the board.
Any other questions?
I have a couple,
Okay.
Deb, if you don't mind. How long has your client owned this property, Ann? Do you know?
He's occupied it since about 2001. He rented it, had lease agreements before buying it, I believe in approximately 2008, maybe a little bit earlier, but he's been on the property for about 20 years.
And I'm not trying to put
Right.
you on the spot, I realize.
Right.
I'm just curious if you
Yeah.
know how long this particular road has been inactive. I mean, looking at the photos we saw with the grass growing and the trees on one side, there wasn't a road there recently.
Right. I don't know.
No, I don't want to put you
Right.
on the spot. That's
Well, and so I can tell you that in the 2010 petition to vacate, it was stated that the property owner had maintained it as as a part of the lawn. And while that's true, well, I'm not disputing that, at least, we'll say. I haven't looked into the truth of that. I would say that, to my knowledge, and your county attorneys can correct me, that you can't gain title to public right-of-way by adverse possession. Also, that it was my client's intent to start using this much sooner, but we were wrapped up in 10 years of legal disputes about the property and needed to get those resolved before we could actually move forward with any kind of development on the property. And so that's where it is not currently built out with a road, but the intent has been there for a long time. We just needed to get legal disputes wrapped up to finally confirm title to the property.
When, Dave, when are we supposed to take action on this? Next week?
We'll hold as is our normal procedure, hold the public hearing open for a week, and then with an item for action.
Is a week
Next week.
sufficient time for the parties
Yeah.
to talk?
It's a public hearing, so
The statute allows for action for as soon as thereafter.
Practical.
so we can give time to the parties.
That's
what,
So I would say that we could begin to reach out, begin to have those conversations. I would also say that that we have made that commitment to you in front. This is part of the record. We've made the commitment to you, and to my knowledge, there is no limitation on refiling this petition again. If 6 months down the road, the applicant again comes to you and says they didn't work with me. There were no conversations. They completely stonewalled me and weren't willing to be reasonable. And I can tell you, I assure you that that wouldn't be fun to be in front of you again under those circumstances. So we acknowledge that we're making that commitment, and it's something that we know we need to and intend to abide by, and that there is some consequences to not doing that.
And go ahead.
Roma?
I would really like to know what the solutions could possibly be before we take action on it, even within a week or whenever. So I think that would be one of the things that that the board really needs to know.
We put it for maybe a revisit in 90 days.
Okay.
Okay?
We will deal with that on Tuesday.
Whatever action we take, whatever that may be,
Yeah.
is next Tuesday.
I really think we want to give the parties time to work through this. Sir, you can speak you can come up and speak if you like.
Okay.
Just one last thing then, Ann, from me, and then I'll be done. And so if we say, okay, we won't vacate, then going down the road, I guess I'm hearing that your client would like the county to reestablish this road in some form that would allow access for trucks of perhaps significant size.
Correct. I can tell you that was, he was beginning that process. And when I say beginning that process, that was calling JEO, the engineering company, to start that conversation about what that would look like, what a culvert needs to look like, what the expense would look like, to work with the county to actually build, that, as Mr. Berry stated, it's a pretty small area of road. It's small, so the cost, well, at least relative to roads, the cost is not as significant as you might see with some others. We're starting to look into that process when it, kind of hit the backstop that it was no longer a road and something we need to come back.
No reason to go there if it's vacated. There's no reason to, okay.
Right.
Great.
And so I will say, so yes, assuming that this continues to be public right-of-way, very interested in building this out as a road as soon as possible, and willing to work with the county to get that, willing and knowledgeable that it will be required to work with the county to get that done. And then also very willing to have that conversation. I've stated, and I stated that I'm going to make sure we get a contact information to Ms. Peaks, and that so when she has her engineers, her septic system repair professionals, repair and installation professionals start to look at options, we're happy to work with her to lay out something that'll work for both parties.
All right, final question, Roma?
No, I don't
Okay.
have a question, I just was gonna make a comment.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, we got about 4 more people want to participate. All right, thank you very much. Engineer has,
We have a
Information
gentleman-
she'd like
the
to-
gentleman
yeah.
sitting in the back
Okay.
wanted to comment as well.
Yeah, that gentleman was
yes,
raising.
and if you are, just so I'm aware, if you're interested in adding to the public testimony, we can line up on that wall just so we can get an idea of how many people are still here.
Pam Dingman, Lancaster County Engineer.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Just a couple things in regards to this. This road that is 50 feet wide, and I think here's the reality. Unfortunately, in my career, I've been through, I think I've been through several vacations, a number of them that have not been done right. So the reality is the vacation was not executed properly. There's no current vacation out there, so the road still exists. The previous vacation was not done properly. That's why we're seeing this again. So when we look at this particular road is 50 feet wide. This is what we see in these small, old railroad communities from the 1890s. We have several of them around the county. Princeton is another one. And what happens is now the county's maintaining these roads. 50 feet is not a wide enough right-of-way to maintain a county gravel road. So we've talked a lot about this road here. We would really need 100 feet for a new modern road with ditches and utility easements, the other things that these roads need. This area is simply not laid out for that. That's one of the reasons why my department recommended vacation of this. This particular piece of property, per the plat, does have access to the south. In addition, the property, if it was zoned industrial, according to the current rules, would be required to have a 15-foot building offset for the side yards. So I mean, we're almost to the 20 that would be needed for a drive. Not quite. Although I have not laid out this property. It's that's not my duty as a county engineer. I also want to speak briefly to the length of the road. Yes, it is a short length that would be reopened up to a public road that is open. However, this is a residential community. This is a residential community, and this is a very narrow gravel road intended for the use of a residential community. So if that is the direction that this developer would like to go, we would also need some sort of road maintenance agreement for this gravel road because it's not currently intended for commercial use. It's sort of grandfathered in place for lack of a better terminology. I also want to note that according to the assessor's office, the house itself has existed here since 1930. Now, I believe there may be some differences in the outbuildings, which has created some of the long-term property disputes here. I mean, this is a very interesting vacation. It doesn't necessarily have a clear outcome, and so that is one of the reasons why it's brought to you.
I have two questions. I want to get the picture clear in my head. So when you said the road is gravel because it's residential, you're talking about the road that would give access to the road that's in question of
So
being
we've got a lot of
vacated,
maps
right?
up here, and I'm just going to take a map that's already been entered
Thank you.
because maybe today is a day that we don't need one more map, right? I can't believe I just said that as an engineer, by the way. So as we look at Northwest 70th Street, you can see how much more narrow this little tiny piece is compared to Northwest 70th Street. As we look at the total length of Northwest 70th Street, these are residential homes that have been here for a very long time. So my concern would be now coming adjacent to a residential home with commercial or industrial traffic and coming down Northwest 70th Street, The right-of-way does look wide there, however, there is a lot of drainage in this area, and there's also some drainage off to the west side, so.
Do you know whose decision it was to designate that strip industrial? I mean, does Agnew have their own planning and zoning?
No. No, Agnew refers back to Lancaster County for their planning and zoning.
Okay. Huh.
So the planning and zoning of this would still have to go, you know, if it was a rezone, would still have to go through the planning department.
How are railroads sound?
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Literally might, it might just be the original zoning.
This could have been a long time.
I don't know. I don't have that answer.
Again, as county engineer, I don't research
Yeah.
zoning in general, although I did research what a required setback would be
Okay.
for this property.
So it's still your recommendation to allow the vacation?
That is correct.
All right. Any other questions for the county engineer? Right. Sir, you'd like to provide comment?
Good morning, guys.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Okay, my name's Lloyd Jacobic. I'm the owner and operator of Raymond Contracting, one of the largest installers of wastewater systems in the state. We put in, on an average, 60 to 80 systems a year we register. I've been working with Laverne Peaks to come up with a solution. My wife informed me that we did have a conversation with the owners. I don't know how that conversation went with the owner of the other property. I don't know how that conversation went, but the conversation was opened up, okay? What I would like to bring to the board's attention is the existing septic system now that is in failure because it will not take any more effluent is on that property now, okay? So we're just adding next to it, excuse me.
Sorry, when we say on that property, we mean on the area that's going to be vacated?
On the area that's
Okay.
vacated now, it goes across the whole length of the property, north to south. So it's on there now, so we're just gonna be adding some new laterals next to that, hopefully tying into the old laterals to give you some more capacity, you know? So we got it worked out. So do you have any more questions for me?
So the work you want to do isn't impacting the diagonal property that's owned.
Not at
You are doing work on the upper portion that is in the county
My
right of way.
lovely wife gave me a map I'm gonna put down here.
Good. We
The
were
boss,
worried
I
you
should
wouldn't
say,
have a
the
map.
boss.
Everybody's got a map.
She comes from Agnew, by the way.
Okay. All right, let's see what you've got. Okay, let's get north at the top.
Okay.
Turn it 90 degrees for
North
us.
is over here, so let me switch it around.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
okay.
Okay, and if you see this little line I got marked out there, that's to the west of the existing, that will be the lateral field. And
Okay.
not exactly, but it's in that area. The lateral field that's in failure now is to the east of that property. And it goes across the entire property now, so it's already there. So, and her septic tank is right to the north of her house, like right in this area.
Okay.
So it's pretty cut and dry. Can we use a different area? Yes, we could pump to a different area, but if that 100 acres, I mean, that 100-foot right-of-way, we're gonna need 40 of that and 100-foot long to put laterals in that. You know, it depends on the soil percolation rate.
yeah.
She has a very good percolation rate where she's at, because she's in the Kennebec soil, so that's a really good soil. The other soil is a different kind of soil, it's called Wymore, and that takes a larger lateral field. It's got a heavier clay content in it, so.
Roma's our expert on septic systems. The rest of us don't have them.
I do have a question, okay, in terms of putting out the laterals, how many people live in that house?
It's the lateral field is based on bedrooms.
Okay, how many bedrooms? Yeah.
So I believe it's a 2-bedroom.
Okay.
A 2-bedroom system. So that's depending on the bedrooms and the percolation rates. That's how we design the system. And we have done a percolation test on that property, and it did pass, and we worked with the engineer, Nate Hartman, the health department, and sized it properly, but we have not turned in a design yet, because we wanted to let all this process go. But it will fit, so.
So maybe it's a question for the county attorney or county engineer. Couldn't this process to expand or renovate her existing system be done with an easement on the county property as opposed to a vacation? We do easements all the time for property owners to do things on our right of way. I'm just wondering if that might be possible here.
Either way, I don't think you could ever drive over this.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
So
I was wondering.
we do not do easements within our right-of-way, if that makes sense. If there is a utility that we permit within the right-of-way, you know, we do permit things within the right-of-way. That's a little different. If it's vacated, by the way, an easement is implied. So as I stated earlier, vacations are a very interesting thing that you can mess up very quickly. And so we do not do easements within the right-of-way.
Okay.
So you're saying, again, that changing the lateral system and so forth to improve it would take 40 feet?
If the average septic system out there, the lateral field, what we allow for is 40 foot by 100 foot. That's what the average lateral field takes in a Wymore soil. It varies on the kinds of soils you have. And the percolation rates can vary widely too. You know, but that's a general rule of thumb. 40 by 100 foot is what's needed. If we add pumps, well, we're still going to, like, if we work with the owner dedicating a new area, we will need another tank to put a pump in, so that tank's gonna have to be someplace. We need access to run the line up to that property, and then we need another tank there, a diffuser tank to kind of stop the volume of the pump.
Okay.
And then we need a gravity flow into a system. That's what we usually do, into a lateral system, which is basically, it can be smaller, but the maximum would be 40 by 100. Could be 20 by 100, but that's still room that takes out of that 100 foot. So no matter what we do, we're gonna
Need that
impact.
space. Okay.
So.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Anyone else wishing to provide testimony on this item? Thank you, Lloyd. All right, Nate.
Again, Nate Hartman, Health Department.
Don't need swearing.
I just would like to point out very quickly the potential logistical issue with waiting 90 days, as it's already September. That puts us into the middle of December. Probably don't want to be putting septics in the tundra at that point, but just
Right.
would like to bring that up.
Okay, good point.
Thank you.
Okay, and our parade of testifiers continues.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Steve Hendrickson, Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. I also have a map.
Good.
But my map, I'll have to give you a paper copy of it later. As I was just sitting here, let's see if this comes up or not. But this is to try to show the zoning of the property. And so this is in Lancaster County's zoning jurisdiction because Agnew is an unincorporated place. And so the red outline is the Jansa Rentals property. And so just to try to clarify, not all of the property is zoned I-1 industrial. Only the southern portion that is in purple is industrial. The rest of the property is zoned AG agricultural, as is Ms. Peak's property is also AG The little orange that you see further to the south, that is basically R zoning for the residential area of Agnew. For some reason, the smaller lots that continue along Northwest 70th Street were never zoned R, but they're probably also appropriate because they're very small lots, not your typical 3-acre, or AG zoning requires 20-acre zoning. So in this particular case, if there was going to be commercial use of the northern property, and the post didn't say they were going to use it for commercial purposes, just if they were trying to access it and use it in some manner other than agriculture, they were hoping to access it off of the property to be vacated. Would also note here that in the city jurisdiction, and I believe it's the county, but I'll have to admit this question wasn't raised to us before today, that if the the North Street here property were to remain right-of-way, and I've got the zoning on, so it seems a little hard to show, but the area in pink is the area that's in question of right-of-way. This map actually already reflects the assessor showing the vacation done and completed. So that's why it is in pink. But anyhow, so if that is right-of-way vacated through the process, then they were asking about access. If it's not vacated, if it remains right-of-way, typically in the city jurisdiction, and I'd have to check with John Ward about the county, we don't have access come off the end of a right-of-way. In other words, even if you left the right-of-way in place, typically we don't grant access for a driveway off the end of the right-of-way. So this would not be access to Lot 2. The property in red would not have access to it. That'd be something I would want to verify in the next week, or unless the county attorney wants to continue the parade of people talking and address that point. But then I believe that even if you didn't vacate it, they wouldn't be taking access off of it. And certainly if they were trying to access it to go all the way to the south into the industrial zoning, I wouldn't think that would be appropriate access either, that you come up Northwest 70th, go around this property and back down to the south to access the existing industrial use. So in our view, the industrial use would really continue to have its access from the southern end, which is down on this end here, so that the commercial access or whatever industrial commercial use is in the purple area, which is the industrial area, its access would come from the south, not come from the north. Even if you decide not to vacate the property, A, wouldn't recommend that you have access off the end of a right-of-way, or B, that you come up through an agricultural area and then back through the agricultural area to get to the industrial area. And as was noted, they're just early in their process of developing it, so I'm not aware that they've talked to myself or Tom Chaka in the planning department, who's out of the office this week, about extending the industrial zoning, but I don't think that that would be the type of thing we or the health department would be in favor of, because you'd be extending industrial zoning adjacent to a bunch of houses. And our comprehensive plan does not encourage extending new industrial zoning next to residential properties. So that was just some additional information wanted to be able to provide.
That's very valuable. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else wishing to provide testimony on this item?
Anyone else with a map?
I haven't seen yet. As I mentioned before, our typical policy is to hold this open for a week, gather additional information, and take action next week, which could be approval of the vacation, denial of the vacation, or a delay in action on the vacation. So 3 options available to us. All right, one more time. Anyone else wishing to provide public testimony? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing.
Can I clarify one point, Commissioner? And I think my memory's accurate here, but I want to make sure. Once we have a public hearing, it is recommended that we do not have contact with any of the parties involved in the public hearing. Is that correct, Dave?
Okay,
So we should not be talking with anyone who's got an interest or testified in this about this issue.
Other than maybe specific questions to staff that we might have.
Okay,
And any communications does happen should be disclosed.
Yes.
But it's not encouraged. Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
All right, thank you for that reminder. All right, we will close that public hearing and now open the public hearing for item B. Mr. Clerk.
How are we supposed to let you know if we've been able to work anything out, had conversations?
Call Dave.
Okay,
Yeah, John and Dave.
okay, all right.
Next is amending the 2022 through 2027 1- and 6-year road and bridge improvement program. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony we're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Pam Dingman, Lancaster County Engineer. I have just a few more maps for you today, right?
Oh, dear.
And I know that y'all love maps. So, this last year, and sometimes we forget the details as we work through all of these things. You may recall 18 months ago when we planned for the budget, the previous year's budget, we talked about that, hey, if we could find a way to slip in Bridge W50 down in the southwest quadrant of Lancaster County, and if we could get a grant from the state for that bridge, that we would move that bridge forward. That being said, we did get a grant for Bridge W50, and we also felt the need to start engineering on Bridge C253, which is on Agnew Road and it's in very bad shape, and Bridge E38, which is south of the village of Melcombe and is now closed. And so what we're doing is we're modifying our 1 and 6 plan. You haven't seen me do this before. We're modifying our 1 and 6 plan to bring these bridges into the previous year's plan. And then, of course, in a few weeks, we will be meeting with you again to talk about the current year's 1 and 6 plan.
You're referencing all 3 bridges are going to be moved into the current year's plan,
The previous year's plan.
previous year's plan.
So if you look at your packet, you have a modified 1 and 6 packet in there, as well as a sheet describing each project. So Bridge C253, Bridge E38, and Bridge W50.
So we literally are getting things done yesterday? Is this what-
That hurts me, Commissioner Vest.
No,
but
I
yes.
think it's a compliment.
It is a requirement that our 1 and 6 be accurate, so because we pulled these in, we need to do this, and like I said, we have not done it before, but we did do it this time because we got some additional grant money that we didn't have at the time of the budget.
Will you see any construction begin on these yet this season?
Well, I'm hopeful that Bridge W50, which is the folded tub girder, that we'll have the opportunity to see that yet this year. We have had a pre-construction meeting on that, and we are waiting to hear from the fabricator on how long the fabrication is for the beams.
Malcolm?
I have to ask about
I
Malcolm.
know.
And can I ask about their bridge? We are working on the Melcombe Bridge. I do expect the Melcombe Bridge to be the design to be done sometime in December, and so we're hopeful that we can let that bridge in the spring for summer construction next year. And so you're going to see that bridge again when I present the 1 and 6. We're a little sad. I was hoping it could be a box culvert, but it is definitely not a box culvert. It is a bridge. And unfortunately, our accelerated construction with folded tub girders doesn't work for the geometry of this channel. So,
When the folded tub girder goes into action, would you notify the board? I'd be interested in seeing that being installed, or whatever the term would be. So
it should be interesting. I did have the opportunity last month to actually go to the fabrication facility and see them being made. And so What's interesting is they can make a folded tub girder in about 15 minutes.
Oh, really?
And it's fully automated and robotic, and so it's a very impressive system, and I think that when we get the bridges here, we're going to be very happy.
Great, thank you. Anyone else wishing to provide public testimony on the amendment to the 1 and 6 year road bridge improvement program? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and move on to new business.
New business 5A is a resolution to matter of amending the 2022 through 2027 1 and 6 year road and bridge improvement program.
Excuse me. Candace Behrens, County Attorney's Office. I just want to note that there is a typographical error on the resolution that's presented before you. The Lincoln Lancaster County Planning Commission voted 8-0. That was on September 7th, 2022. It's the resolution says 2020. And
Oh.
That's inaccurate. So if you do choose to move forward with approving the resolution, if you could approve it with that change, that would be great.
9/7/22 instead of 9/7/20.
2020. Yep.
Is there a motion?
I would move approval of the resolution amending the 2022 through 2027 1 and 6 year road and bridge improvement program with the modification that the Planning Commission approved this same plan by an 8-0 vote on 9/7/2022 instead of 9/7/2020.
Second?
Okay, call a roll, please.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Best,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5B and C are to be held. And the next two, D and E, I'm going to read together because they are related. Affirmation of the Lincoln Saltillo Quiet Zone 5-year affirmation, and E is affirmation of the Lincoln South Quiet Zone 5-year affirmation. This isn't a public hearing.
Oh,
so
cool.
You're fine.
Okay. Madam Chairman and fellow commissioners, Roger Figert, Executive Director of the RTSD. I'm here today for those that are listening as a reminder that when quiet zones are created in a community, federal regulations require checking, affirming that all of those safety requirements that were put in place to create the quiet zone are still there, are working correctly, and meet all the specifications. And that needs to be done every 4.5 to 5 years. In this case, we're here today to discuss two quiet zones. Lincoln South Quiet Zone, which includes 3rd and D, South Street, Park Boulevard, Pioneers Boulevard, Old Cheney Road, and South 14th. Of those 6 crossings, 3 of them, Pioneers, Old Cheney, and South 14th, have abutting responsibilities between the city of Lincoln and Lancaster County. Different ownerships on either side. In some cases, it's the crossing, signs, markings at any rate. That's why in the resolution there is a chief executive officer statement from the county commissioners and also one proposed from the mayor's office, both affirming. And I'm here to, and then the second one is, actually the other one is Saltillo Road, and that single crossing in that quiet zone. The RTSD, on behalf and support of Lancaster County and the city of Lincoln, hired a consulting firm, FHU, to go out and do the investigation. They did the original quiet zone study for the city and the county, and they have done their review and are indicating to me, and I am asserting to you today, that all of the safety requirements that are necessary for a quiet zone to continue to operate safely and according to federal regulations are there in place and will be affirmed in place prior to this letter that I sign goes on to a number of the railroad, Federal Highway or Federal Rail Administration, as well as the city and the county. And I would also say the city is in the process of getting the necessary executive orders to get the mayor's signature that will go along with these two quiet zones should you approve the resolution today. I wanted to thank John Ward for getting this information pulled together very quickly and before you today. So I'd answer any questions you might have.
For Roger on items D or E. All right.
I would just say we're very fortunate to have Roger stay on top of this stuff. And I would move, do we need to do them one or?
One at a time.
All right, I would move approval of item D.
Second.
All right, call the roll, please.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
And I'll move approval of item E.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, thank you, Roger.
5F is setting the salary for Amber R. Martin, bailiff for District Court Judge Darla S. Ideas in the amount of $71,668, effective September 6, 2022.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
It's good to see you all again. Thank you for your time and attention. As stated in my letter, I don't know if you had a chance to review it. Judge Ideas' bailiff, Kim Folsom, she served as a district court bailiff for 26 years and she retired. And Judge Ideas made the decision to offer that position to Amber Martin. And I brought Amber with me here today. I don't know if anyone has ever met one of the bailiffs. I thought it would be good to bring her here and you could meet her face to face. So I am asking, when Kim left, her salary was set as bailiff 2 at $71,668. And we're asking to have that approved commencing September 6, 2022.
Amber. Hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to join the Lancaster County court system.
She was Judge Ideas' court reporter. So that is how we,
okay.
Yes, it was
Okay.
like a natural progression, just to
Okay.
kind of give some background information.
Yes.
So,
I started in county court 5 years ago. I worked for Judge Freidenberg, Justice Freidenberg, and then Judge Dalton, and then I made my move up to district court as a court reporter.
Okay, so you've done the whole cycle.
Yes.
Terrific.
yeah, we're lucky to have her.
So
She's
you're
great.
coming into the position very familiar with the duties and responsibilities.
Absolutely. It intermixes a lot from county court to district court. There's a lot of the same job duties, but I feel like district court has a little bit more responsibilities that I'm looking forward to tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, important decisions made there, so.
Well, we're honored to have you here this morning. I'll move approval.
Second.
And you got to see a little bit of what we do here. An hour and 10 minutes worth you did.
There's some good county boarding there.
There really was.
Feel good about that.
All right, Mr. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, thank you for
Thank
being
you,
here.
Commissioners.
Thank you.
G is a contract with Archive Social to provide social media archive services. The cost of county is not to exceed $8,388.
All right, is there a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the contract. Call the roll, please.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. H is a contract with Centus Corporation to provide services on rental and cleaning of mats and various linen and related items. The cost of county is not to exceed $5,000.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the contract. Call the roll, please.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5I is a contract with Pavers, Inc. for Yankee Hill countywide pavement, maintenance, and repair. The cost of county is not to exceed $195,959.40. This contract shall be effective upon execution of contract and shall be completed on or before October 31st, 2022.
Pam Dingman, Lancaster County Engineer. Guess what I have?
A map.
One more map. I know. This is for a little stretch of Yankee Hill that's just north of Highway 2 at 98th Street. With some of the detours for the South Beltway, there was a lot of heavy truck traffic. I almost said it the other way around. Placed on this road on a very hot day. It did cause the pavement to fail. This is the special contract to get in there and repair this stretch of pavement. And right now we have it load rated so that heavy trucks are not allowed on that because we were trying to limit the damage to the slab.
And I can certainly speak to the failure of that particular area. I would move approval.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the contract with Pavers Inc. Call the roll.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. J is adoption of the bargaining agreement between Lancaster County and Fraternal Order of Police Lodge number 77 for a 3-year contract.
John Ward with the Lancaster County Attorney's Office. I'm just going to point out 2 typographical errors on the letter of agreement, which will be signed by Commissioner Shore. Towards the bottom of the signature area, the form says November 20,212, which is a little bit ahead of time. It's just going to be 2022.
Okay.
Change that date, and then it's Commissioner Vest's name in place of Commissioner Shore. So, Commissioner Shore, when you sign that, I'm just going to request that you change that date to 2022 and strike through Commissioner Vest's name, write your own.
Okay. Megan will help with that. Right.
Then I gather the motion doesn't need to address any.
Correct.
Okay.
No changes to the motion.
All right. I move approval of item J, and a big thank you to everybody who worked to get this done.
Second.
Right, motion and a second to approve the adoption of the agreement with gratitude to all parties. Call the roll.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Pay your documents related to binding of insurance coverage for Lancaster County. This includes client authorization to bind general liability and excess workers' compensation coverage, policyholder disclosure, notice of terrorism insurance coverage, Nebraska selection of higher underinsured motorist coverage limits.
Move approval.
Second.
Sue, do you have a map? Just forms. Okay. Call the roll, please.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5L is an amendment to grant contract C-21-582 with El Centro de las Americas for the youth program.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Call the roll, please.
Yocum,
I abstain as I serve on their board.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 4 yes, 1 abstention. Next is number 6, public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to county business, non-agenda may do so at this time.
Is there anyone wishing to make public comment? Seeing no one, if you could continue with the announcements, please.
The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a staff meeting on Tuesday, September 13th, 2022, in room 112 of the County City Building, immediately following the Board of Commissioners' regular meeting. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will attend the broadband meeting Wednesday, September 14th, 2022, at 4:30 p.m. at the Firth Community Center. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a staff meeting on Thursday, September 15th, 2022, in room 112 of the County City Building. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold its next regular meeting on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, beginning at 9 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022, at 9 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building regarding amendments to the following: Article 1, Section 6 of the Lincoln-Lancaster County Air Pollution Control Program Regulations and Standards, Section 11 of Resolution Number R20-0055, Lancaster County Air Pollution Control Resolution Number R-20-0056, Section 13 of Resolution Number R-20-0057, and Sections 6, 15, 29, of resolution number R-20-0053. County Commissioners can be reached at 402-441-7447 or commish@lancaster.ne.gov. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live on Link TV, the city government access channel. Link TV is available on Allo Channel 2 and Spectrum Channel 1300. For the rebroadcast schedule, visit lincoln.ne.gov. Meetings are also streamed live on Link TV, YouTube, and Facebook. In addition, Link TV apps are available on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
I just want to make one addition to the announcements. There is item B, announces the broadband meeting Wednesday, the 14th at the Firth Community Center. I do believe there's also a meeting the following day on Thursday, the 15th at 4:30 in Davie. And we will have commissioners present at both meetings. So I would like the announcements to include that additional meeting. All right, we have a motion, a second to adjourn. Call the roll, please.
Amundson,
Yes.
Yocum,
Yes.
Flowerday,
Yes.
Vest,
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, we are adjourned. We will take a few moments to sign documents, and then we'll call to order the staff meeting for today.